And that will now bring us to the NFC. I had a lot of nice things to say about a lot of teams in the AFC since I see the conference being pretty open with a lot of young quarterbacks being capable of taking their teams on a deep playoff run. I don't feel the same way about the NFC. I think there are four really good teams that have a chance to win this conference and some other teams that are solid that could certainly go if they get hot. But I think that it's not going to be quite as competitive, but we're going to start with the NFC East, which should have some competition just due to the fact that it's not the strongest division. There are some teams that I really do question what they're doing. But one team that I feel very confident in is the Philadelphia Eagles. I know they had their collapse last year that a lot of people are still worried about, and I am too to a certain degree, but there's just too much talent on this team for me to ignore them outright. I think that Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC. He still has some great weapons around him, and the defense is solid. They have some great receivers, a really nice tight end, bringing in Saquon Barkley. I do have some concerns about the fact that there have been some reports this offseason that there's been a weird relationship between Hurts and Sirianni, and they're bringing in two new OCs. That might take some time for them to adjust, but I think they're going to figure things out. One team that I think will be relevant, but I don't see being all that great, are the Dallas Cowboys. This is a team that's struggling to figure things out. Jerry Jones uh, has not been too eager to sign players to extensions, which has been odd because there aren't that many great players on the team right now. There's some really good guys, but I mean, look at this offense. They finally extended CD Lamb, and I think he's going to be great. He is an incredible wide receiver. But who else do they have as great targets? I mean, Dalton Schultz is a. I'm sorry, Dalton Schultz isn't there anymore. Jake Ferguson is the solid tight end for the Cowboys, and I think he's going to get a lot of targets. But bringing back Ezekiel Elliott at this point in his career doesn't do a whole lot for the running game. Their number two receiver, I believe, is Brandon Cooks, which is nothing strong. Still some solid defensive players, and I do like Dak Prescott, but there are issues with him just due to the fact that Jerry doesn't seem to want to extend him, and I think that's going to cause some problems for him. So I think they'll still be relevant, but I don't see them winning this division. Number three, I have the Commanders just because I'm very high on their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. I believe that it takes rookies a while to develop at the quarterback position. I was speaking very highly of Stroud, but that's because he is the exception, not the rule. I think Daniels will have a solid year. But I don't think things will be great this year. I think he's going to have a great career. I think the team will be okay in the grand scheme of things, but I think this is going to be a rough season. Although with some nice games and some moments, that's going to show that he is a good quarterback. And unfortunately for the number four team in this division, they don't have a good quarterback, and that's the Giants. Daniel Jones had one great year, and that got him a massive contract, and good for him. But this team is just not that good. They have some nice pieces defensively, and I do like uh, the selection of Malik Neighbors, but they still just don't have much of a passing game. There aren't that many other options offensively. And Saquon, going from Saquon as your running back to Devin Singletary is a massive downgrade. I think it's going to be a rough year for the Giants. This will now bring us to the NFC North, the home of my favorite team, therefore your favorite team, the Detroit Lions, uh, who I actually have repeating as division champions this year. You might say, well, aren't you biased? To which I would say I absolutely am. But I've also been watching this team for my entire life, and yeah, the idea of seeing a Lions team as competent as they've been with as many talented players as they've had, with a good coach, with a good GM, this is a new territory. I can definitely say that this is a much improved team from what we've seen in the past. The division title last year was incredible, and on paper, I think this is a team that's even better. I mean, they had a top five offense last year, arguably the best running back duo, one of the best receivers in the league in St. Brown, a top 10 quarterback in Jared Goff, an elite offensive line, and a rookie tight end in Sam Laporta, who already looks like one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So I just believe in this offense. They're essentially the same offense, except now they have the hope that Jameson Williams can play up to his potential of a first round pick now that he's going to have his first full season. And then defensively, they've improved. They added DJ Reader onto the interior defensive line, and they completely revamped the cornerback position, bringing in 4 new players, including 2 of the top cornerback draft prospects. I believe in this team. I think they will win the North again, although I think the number 2 team, the Green Bay Packers, are going to keep it interesting. Jordan Love, as much as I hate to say it, is the real deal. He looks incredible. He had a great year last year. They brought in Josh Jacobs. They have some receivers that may not have the clear-cut number 1, but they have a handful of really good players. They have some good defensive pieces. I want to see this team fall apart. I want to say that they are far behind Detroit, but that would not be true. This is a really good team that is going to give the Lions a run for their money in what I think will be the toughest division race in the NFC this year. Number 3, I think the Bears are going to be relevant. I don't think they're going to be amazing right away. There is a lot of hype around Caleb Williams, deservedly so, but I just don't think that he is ready yet. He's a rookie, and this is a team that's had a hard time developing quarterbacks over the years. I think he's going to end up being a very good player. I think he's going to show some flashes this year. And I think the team will stay close to 500, even though I think they'll be below 500. He's not going to be bad. It's just I don't think he's going to live up to the expectations of people who think that he's going to lead the Bears on a deep playoff run right away. Year 1 might not be an amazing year for him, even if he has a great career. And then there are the Vikings, who, boy, they look like the clear-cut last place team in this division. They had their quarterback, the rookie who's going to be out for the year, Sam Darnold, not a great option. Jordan Addison could miss some time, both due to injury and also to suspension. Not an amazing defense. I think losing Danielle Hunter is going to hurt. This is not an awful team, and having Justin Jefferson is going to help, but I think they're just going to be severely outmatched by the rest of their division. I don't have as much to say about the NFC South, since this is the one division where I don't see a team that looks like a great Super Bowl contender. But I do think that Atlanta is going to win the division. I think the addition of Kirk Cousins to go with some of the offensive pieces that they've drafted early the last few years, and London and Bijan and Pitts is certainly going to help. These are talented players who have not had a great quarterback. So bringing in Kirk Cousins, who's maybe not a great quarterback, but has shown that he is a very good one, is going to get this team to win a fairly weak division. I think that number 2 is going to be Tampa Bay. They were a really good team last year, and even after Tom Brady's retired, they've stayed relevant. Baker Mayfield has really turned things around for himself. I don't think this is an amazing team. I don't think they're going to be dominant, but they'll be competitive in this division. They'll certainly be fighting for a playoff spot. At number 3, I have New Orleans. I like Carr just fine. He's a solid QB. I like some of their pieces. Kamara and Olave are both good, solid guys defensively, but I just don't have a whole lot of things to say about them. And then the team that I think that'll be in last place in the South is going to be the Carolina Panthers. I actually am not as low on Bryce Young as certain other people are. I know a lot of people have already sort of disregarded him or look at him like he's a bust, and while that's certainly possible, I want to give him a little bit more time. 1 year is not enough to evaluate him for sure, but boy, there are some issues with this team. There's just not a lot of great options offensively. The defense has improved a bit, but it's not great. So I think it's going to be another rough year for Carolina. I think they and the Giants are going to be fighting for first pick this year. And that'll bring us to the NFC West, where I see the San Francisco 49ers winning the division. I think that this is going to be another really nice year for San Francisco. I don't know that they necessarily go as far as they did last year, just since the teams that get beat in the Super Bowl have a tendency to take a step back, but I certainly see them as a playoff team. This is one of the most loaded rosters in the NFL. There's too much talent to disregard them and not to take them seriously. Christian McCaffrey, if they still gave the MVP award to quarterback or to non-quarterbacks, I think he would have won it. Retaining Ayuk is huge to go with Debo and Kittle. Some injuries are going to hurt them defensively, but they still have some really nice players there. I know Trent Williams might not play right away since he's holding out a bit, but even so, I still believe that this is going to be a great team. At number 2, I see the Rams. I am torn on them because I still think that this is going to be a good team, but the roster as a whole is just not as dominant as it was when they were the team that won the Super Bowl. Losing Aaron Donald, I think, is really going to hurt them. I feel like some people almost kind of don't really believe that he's gone and are expecting him to unretire at some point. But I think it's going to hurt their defense. Of course, it's going to hurt their defense. They still have some nice pieces. Offensively, Stafford, of course, is a really nice, solid quarterback. And, of course, the duo of Kupp and Nakua is great. There's some and it's going to be interesting to see what their running game is going to look like as well. Kyron Williams with Blake Corum. There's some confusion as to why you go with Corum if you were as high with Kyron Williams. Is he going to end up being the feature back over Kyron? Either way, you're going to have a great running game in LA. I think the defense is going to take a step back, but the offense is just too talented to disregard. At number 3, I actually have the Arizona Cardinals just because I think having a full season from Kyler Murray with a potentially lethal receiver at Marvin Harrison is going to be great. Throw in James Conner, who's been a nice, reliable running back, as well as Trey McBride is a really good tight end. I don't think this is an amazing roster, but the offense as a whole looks pretty promising, and I feel better about their chances than I do about the team I have at number 4, Seattle. I don't know why. I just don't believe in Geno Smith the way certain other people do. I know that the last couple of years he's been great in Seattle, and he's done a really nice job at beating my Lions, but I don't know that outside that game he's going to be particularly dominant. Maybe it's just because I saw him for the first, better part of a decade and not really stepping up. I know he's in a better situation. I think that Seattle and Arizona are going to be tight with each other, so they could certainly be the number 3 team. But I don't see them or the Cardinals being great contenders this year. I don't see either of them really fighting for playoff spots. And now that'll bring us to the teams that I do see taking playoff spots in the NFC this year. The division champions, like I've mentioned, are the Eagles, the Lions, the Falcons, and the 49ers, with the 3 wildcard teams that I have being the Green Bay Packers, the LA Rams, and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I had mentioned earlier that there were 4 teams that I see as real contenders in the NFC, and those 4 are the Eagles, the Lions, the Packers, and the 49ers. And the team that I have representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year are the Detroit Lions. And I know that is a really biased take, but you know what? This team is not one that I've really picked to win the Super Bowl much in my life. In fact, outside of playing games of Madden, I never actually imagined the Lions in or having a chance to win the Super Bowl up until last year, where they finally were able to take that step forward and get to the NFC title game. And while that's not the Super Bowl, and while they had their chance to make it last year and fell short, I think that they're going to use that to really motivate themselves to go further. I think that this is a great young team. I feel like they are like a younger version of the Niners in a lot of ways, just ready to take that step forward with a little bit less drama this year than San Francisco had, although I don't think the Niners drama was anything too crazy. The Ayuk hold, that was kind of, I wouldn't say blown out of proportion, but I think it ended up being a bigger deal than it needed to be. But Detroit has the talent. I really do believe that. And Yeah, maybe I'm being biased and I'm maybe taking the first uh, chance to say that in my life to say that they could make it to the Super Bowl, and I'm just using that as a opportunity to make a video actually believe in that. But I believe it. I believe in this team. Goff's the top 10 quarterback. Just that's what the numbers have shown the last couple of years. He is a different quarterback than he was in LA, and he is a coach and offensive coordinator that I think really believe in him. He believes in them. They may have the best O line in football this year. They may have the best running back duo this year. Again, two of the best pass catchers already in St. Brown and Laporta. And if Jamison Williams plays even close to expectations, this offense is just going to get even better than it was last year. The defense was what held them back last year. And while I can't say it's perfect, I definitely have some questions about the edge rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson, and worried about the linebacking core if Jack Campbell doesn't take that step forward in year two. They completely redid the cornerback room and really improved it. And they have some safeties that are already pretty good. Brian Branch and Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph, those are solid pieces. And Brad Holmes has shown that he knows what he's doing. He's brought in more talent. Is it going to be tough this year? Of course, but I think Detroit has it in them to win the conference. And yeah, in a Lions Texans Super Bowl, I think Detroit gets it done. Now, am I biased? Of course, but you know what? I also laid out a few football reasons for as to why I think that they could go all the way, or at least have a really, really good year. And yeah, take what I said with a grain of salt. But hopefully, this hasn't sounded like a video of somebody who's blatantly biased. I mean, I definitely said a lot of flattering things about my team, but I hope I can at least sound somewhat fair with my review. And now for my week one picks. Feel free to take all of these with a grain of salt. I have the Chiefs over the Ravens, the Eagles over the Packers. I have the Titans beating the Bears, Cincinnati beating New England, Atlanta over Pittsburgh. I have the Buffalo Bills over the Arizona Cardinals. I have the Texans beating the Colts. I have the Dolphins over the Jaguars, the Saints over the Panthers. I have the Vikings over the Giants in what might be the worst game of the week. I'll take the Chargers over the Raiders, the Seahawks over the Broncos. I have the Browns over the Cowboys. I have the Buccaneers over Washington, Detroit over the Rams, and I have the 49ers beating the Jets. Thank you for tuning in as we prepare for the start of the NFL season. Hopefully, it'll be a good one, and I really appreciate you tuning in and watching this video.